This video is about retail chain stores and their competition turning into acquisitions. And this happening due to the inflation and shrinking of markets in the United States and an inevitable characteristic of capitalism. We're going to go back to 1932. This isn't the oldest one in the bunch. I'm talking about the endings of many of these companies and brands that, I'll bring this up, but if you're not aware of it, some people say that Americans are based on brand loyalty. That's not really true, but let's move on. 1932, Payless or Payless Drug Stores out of Tacoma, Washington was created by L.J. Skaggs, who also ran companies under the name Skaggs and also with his brother. This expanded across the western USA. 1967, a year before I was born, Payless Drug Store, spelled that way, Northwest, was a public traded company and therefore subject to influences beyond the Skaggs brothers. 1985, Kmart bought the 164 Payless Northwest Drug Stores. There were other companies that were named Payless. That's why you have spellings that are different, hyphens, that sort of thing. 1986, up to 225 Payless stores now existed because Kmart expanded and kept working with us. By the 1990s, it was this whole thing was being acquired by Rite Aid, but Kmart was involved. 1993, Payless was the 10th largest drugstore chain as a drugstore company and a general store name all over the country. 572 stores exist. These were sold to Thrifty Drug Stores, and then that later it became Thrifty Payless Drug Stores combined, after Kmart announced it was putting Payless as a single word with hyphens or without or with spaces up for sale. And then from sometime between 2017 and 2019, many years later obviously, Kmart was essentially gone. The last physical Kmart was at 14091 Southwest 88th Street in Miami, Florida, in Kendale Lakes Plaza. This was compressed down sometime during that into its exterior garden supply shed area. That's an add-on that they got a permit for to build many years earlier. And that location is at that specific physical shed. So the entire thing has been compressed down extremely. From chain stores all over the place that were able to acquire things like Payless and Rite Aid and who knows what else, all compressed down to a single, not even a shadow of itself, but a vestigial element. Let's talk about Montgomery Wards. This was a powerhouse company that went on for hundreds of years and is still technically existent, oddly enough, in a almost refined version of itself. Originally, Montgomery Wards and Montgomery Wards catalogs was a buy everything you needed. This was the joke about Montgomery Ward's catalog was it was like getting a military requisition catalog, but it was the civilian version. You could literally buy, I'm not kidding, a house, a car, everything to put in the house, and even land at one point. It was a mail order catalog. They were one of the first that would do payment programs and such. By the year 2000, Montgomery Wards had closed all of its 250 retail outlets. Sears acquired Montgomery Ward's physical properties by 2001. The last real Montgomery Wards location is in Monroe, Wisconsin at 652 8th Street. It's now a Swiss Colony outlet store at that specific GPS location, and it's literally just that they have the Montgomery Ward logo on the outside, even though it's bought and paid for by Sears. And it became basically Sears rebranded online outlet to do an extremely fast version of what it was originally. Mail order was what we had in the past before we had literally use Amazon or any other delivery service where you pay for something and it just shows up. In fact, the time delay and the variety of stuff you can get through other companies, including the currently existing Montgomery Ward's website, is almost identical, but obviously scaled back in some ways, compared to what it was when you could have a house shipped to your house. Sears also provided a house you could ship. This was a thing. So let's look at the last physical locations. Let's do the last one here. This is the Swiss Colony Montgomery Ward trademark symbol there. 7th Avenue, right at light here. Sign on the back of the building indicating that. Okay. And then we go up here, and there's the Ward's Montgomery Ward location. And when you go back in time, it's been there since 2009, so it's been there a long time. So that's the Montgomery Ward's location. It was just renamed to Wards at one point. And as we go around the corner here, we can look and see in this building we have that sign, and we have that on the side of the building. We got Midnight Velvet, blah, 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 blah. Outlet Center. Is that it? 7th Avenue, and then the Swiss Colony over there. Now I'm going to try to get into the parking lot, which honestly won't be that difficult. Let's go right over to it. Turn, and there's our Swiss Colony, and on it, it might actually say Montgomery Wards on it somewhere. It's a outlets entity, company, corporation, etc. And if we can get a look at the side, it doesn't say anything about Wards. Montgomery Wards, or just Wards, sign up there, okay? And we don't have any older images, apparently. Well, let's go out to the road really quickly here, if we can. And now we can look this way and see the Swiss yada yada. I'm going to go out here, and how far back can we go in time? 2009 is the oldest, and like I said on the other one, we're not going to get to go back much further. So yeah, there's the Wards sign. And like I said, if we look at more dates, it goes back to 2009, and that's about it. So if all we had was the internet and the archaeology I'm doing right now by pointing out that you can see that it says the company name someplace on Earth still as of at least 2025. Yeah, and it's not even a postage stamp. This is a paper company or paper location. It's basically a contract between one entity and another proving that this physically exists in the world. So again, there's our data. Now we're going to go from there to the next one. This is the Kmart discount store, and the sign thing here is in the wrong location. We also have At Home Home Goods Store, which had interior images, but if we point to them, they show street views only that have been used to replace them. And it's all from the back area of the building. So let's go ahead and look at this location. Okay, right here is the front, and here's the other building. I'm going to pick a spot right in the middle. Let's go right here. As of right now, you can see the At Home, and we look over here, we can see that's what's left of Kmart. And again, if we close that again, the Kmart occupies this area here, and for the heck of it, I'm just going to go ahead and measure distance. It's 118 feet long, and how many feet wide? According to this, obviously, it's not necessarily accurate. 30 feet wide. So this is a 30-foot wide, this is a little tiny building. We go here, yeah, on sidewalk view from 2019, we don't see it there. We see the Kmart over here, and if we, if we go backwards a little bit, we'll get a better look at it. We'll be able to see the Kmart was there in 2019. That was a real physical location. It still had stuff out front. The Kmart existed before the pandemic, and this was literally just their gardening shed area. And I think it was actually kind of closed down at the time. We can go over here and look around a bit. Can't really see anything. But this is a walking street view done from a person walking past it. The interior of this area was basically just storage. We go across the way here, go to 2024. We see Kmart, still said it. Household goods, major, yeah, that was the entire outlet. And we don't have a time tunnel there. So let's go over here and time tunnel it the right way by getting over here. And suddenly the default is 2017, and we see it in its former glory as a frickin' big box store. And that was the garden shop. And then they converted the garden shop after closing it down just for a little while. Approximately closing it down and shuttering it in 2019 to convert it to the dark side of being the last physical location for a real-world Kmart. And it was basically 2019 basically pre-pandemic, and the pandemic last nail in the coffin. Now, why am I doing this video? I don't think anybody cares, but I'm just going to fill in the information here. These were companies that were either mainstays in where I grew up, or where a lot of people grew up, most people, or they were the only way to get certain things. Just like Radio Shack shutting down, just like you not being able to go and get a video rental. Some of these places and some of these entities shut down because technology changes, or the world changed, or obviously the case I'm bringing up, time and marketing changed. People were doing all sorts of things. I remember distinctly a argument in a pop TV show where someone said, "Many a corporation has gone out of business with the expression 'we deliver,'" which of course is silly because some of these companies I've just discussed existed specifically because of doing what we would now call the Amazon business model, or whatever you want to call it. Making things mail order or order over the internet. And it was how we got through a pandemic, was having, stuff show up at your door. And there's always going to be a kind of a need for that. But again, I want to bring up a couple of things. Montgomery Wards, again, you could buy an entire house, have parts cars shipped to you. People would do what we would now call a challenge, a Montgomery Wards challenge back in the 70s, of buying all of the parts necessary to build a car if they wanted to spend the money, just waiting for stuff to be on sale, because you could do that using a paper catalog, a letter that you made or even made yourself. You can make your own envelopes, by the way, still can, and send up a check and have things show up at your door and just build stuff, including the building you lived in. Sears provided really literally everything. And they owned companies and entities that made it to where, at one point, right during the Montgomery Ward shutdown period, Sears was able to do everything. People would just use Sears to do everything involved in any kind of work in your area. Electrical contractors working for your city might use and acquire stuff from Sears as their outlet for stuff, because it was simply there. Kmart, Walmart, all of these large corporations and entities, they either got really big and acquired everybody else and then reduced our choice, or they did what actually happened in a couple of cases here I've just brought up, where it left everything in place. Sears still has, or it had at one point, not necessarily anymore, all of the stuff they acquired from the companies. They still had it at quality for a short time. And I don't know. I'm old. I'm a middle-aged guy. I'm in my late 50s. And I look back at this and realize, of course, back in my day, or we didn't know how good we had it. And everybody watching this video, and I'm sure even if you've never been on this channel before, you may not be an old fuddy-duddy like me, but you might realize, we had it good in some ways for some very limited things. And it obviously didn't compensate for the bad all the time. Things were just different. But I'm pretty sure we lost something here. A lot of us are experiencing a lack of competition in our free trade economy, which isn't. It's a hyper-capitalistic, monopoly-based economy. It's not free market anymore. Hasn't been for a long time. And everybody who yells the word free market and gold standard, whatever, they're talking about monopolies and violating antitrust laws. You might want to look up what trusts were. Read your history books. But yeah, this is about Payless and Rite Aid and Kmart and Sears and Montgomery Wards and all this sort of thing. And it is just kind of funny. We have all these physical locations gone. You go look at your local mini mall or big box store area and see what's there, and compare and contrast it to just one thing. You can go to a library and you might still find an old Montgomery Ward's catalog that's sitting there for historical purposes. I know of a website that had backup copies. And remember, it's not illegal for you to fully print out an old Montgomery Ward's catalog and then leave it in your local city or county or state library or at a college library or at a high school library. It's not illegal to poison the well here by providing people a reference point to what had been and what might have been. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with that. You'll need it.